You like to discover one of the simplest but most powerful ways to persuade someone and influence them, not just to do something, but also to change their minds. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Unconscious Communication Secrets with myself, Muneer Al-Busaidi. And today I'm going to be sharing with you one of the most powerful persuasion and influence secrets that is out there. So let me changing to camera angles. Cool. Now we are live at 5. If you are tuning in, please drop in a message, say hello. I'd love to say hi to you. Otherwise, let's get cracking. Let me just go down. MJ, you know what? I love seeing you on here. Thank you. Thanks for tuning in again, my man. I really appreciate your you sending a message and coming on every day. I'm loving it. All right, let's get cracking. So today, why is this technique is super important, the one that I'm going to share with you today, because so many people focus on how they persuade by literally just focusing on the words that they say. The psychology behind everything makes things so much simpler. And what I'm going to share with you today is one of the most powerful techniques that will help you to change people's minds, as well as to persuade without so much focusing on the words, but more on focusing on the ideas. So, first of all, let me give you a metaphor. All right. Imagine a mirror. Okay. So imagine a mirror. A mirror can look very, very different depending on which angle you look at it from, right? And the attractiveness of a mirror can be very different. If you look at it from behind, where obviously there's no mirror itself, then you're not going to see a reflection. If you look at it so imagine that this is the mirror. If you look at it like this at the side, then you're going to see a very, very different picture. And so there's basically, with a mirror, there's one side that's the most attractive to everybody. Every other side of the mirror, every other angle, not so much. And so that's the metaphor today. By changing the angle of how you look at something. So for example, look at this, my book, right? If you look at it the back, very different. If you look at it this way, very different. If you look at it like this, hold up, very, very different. If you look at it like this, it's a very different. If you look at it this way, it's very different. Some of them are more appealing than others. Not every angle that you look at something is going to be appealing. Casey, you know what? I'm going to give a huge, lovely shout out to Casey. Casey, it's your birthday. We're going to party like it's your birthday. I mean, it was your birthday yesterday, but I'm going to give you a little shout out. Thank you for tuning in. Really appreciate you and everything that you do. All right, cool. So, and Mohammed, great to see you on here. I see you going live a lot as well. Great to see you. Thank you for tuning in. Cool. So, like I say, based on the angle that you look at anything, your perception will change. The attractiveness will change. And that's the same with influence and persuasion. The idea in which you present something, the angle in which you present something will change dramatically your influence and your persuasion. So, let me go. Let me change camera to camera 2. All right, cool. So let me tell you a very quick story that will hopefully elaborate on what I'm talking about. So the idea today, we're talking about framing. Okay. So to give you an idea how I learned this, and this was so powerful for me, this lesson. When I first started my career, I started doing door-to-door sales. And where I learned to do it, and I started in the UK. Now, if some of you lived in the UK or are living in the UK, or some of you have been to the UK, or some of you have just heard about the UK. Either one, most of you will realize the UK weather is not the best. Let me just tell you, UK weather is not the best all year round. So when I first started, I kind of started in the summer and it was all good, no problem. And one day, in the winter kind of slowly crept up, and one day I was sitting there and it was raining like crazy, and my I was sitting in the shade and I was like down and out. I was feeling like I was about to give up. And so my trainer came to me and he said, Muneer, he saw me. He's sitting in the rain, just kind of sitting there, almost giving up, not basically not going door to door. And he said, Muneer, what's up? And I was like, Richard, I don't think I can do this anymore. I don't know. I'm like, it is raining like crazy. I mean, how am I supposed to go out and keep going? And I said, you know what? It rained day before yesterday, and I could sort of take it. It rained yesterday, even heavier, and I'm like, I can, it's getting a bit much. And then today, I don't really want to do this, like go in the rain and everything. And he paused for a moment and he went, oh man, this is the best time. I mean, you should get excited. And I looked at him like, what? And he said, when it rains, first of all, you remember we get paid on commission, right? I went, yeah. And he said, and the more houses that you get into, the more people that you speak to, the more money you're going to make. I said, yeah. And he said, well, when it rains heavily, people feel sorry for you. More people invite you into their house. They want to help you get out of the rain. And so every time it rains, we make more money. Think of it. Yesterday you had a pretty good day, right? I was like, yeah, actually it was just above average. And he said, and the day before was a little above average too, wasn't it? And I went, yeah. And he said, get excited, go for it. Like, this is the time to maximize. The only thing is, don't stay in the houses too long, because I know you're going to be tempted, but go for it. This is the time to get excited. When it rains, we make more money. When it rains, you make it rain. I went, oh my God, you're right. And all of a sudden, he literally flipped the thing that I was feeling negative about, and he turned it into something so positive. Set the frame, avoid the pain. It's my phrase of the day. Write it down. Set the frame, avoid the pain. And so this kind of blew my mind. But if you think about it, what he did was called a reframe. He took something that I was already looking at from a certain angle, and he just took my head and changed the way that I look at things. Someone coming and looking at this book, and you're just saying, well, I don't get it. Why is this book any good? And then you just sort of whoop, you turn their head around and change the way that they look at something. It is powerful. Yeah, Casey, it was very, very cool. Very, very cool. And so that was what was called a reframe, and it was so powerful to me. It really and then he taught me the power of reframing. Now, here's the thing. You see it every day in our lives, okay? And you may not realize it, but people are doing reframing to you all the time, and you're doing it to people, to yourself, to society, etc. Think of natural examples we see of reframing every day. Job titles. Half the time, job titles are a reframe. Like sanitization engineer, toilet cleaner. You can sometimes take a job title and make it so much more exciting than it really is, right? Like, head of social media account management. you play on Facebook all day. Yeah, I don't know. I'm giving you random examples, and obviously I have a lot of friends that are on social media, and I've been there too. But let's let's be real. Like sometimes when you take a job title, it is literally reframing a an existing title, and two people will have do the same job but have very different job titles and be seen very differently by society. So reframing is very powerful. So that's one way you see it. By the way, like the PR department of any company or any government, when they issue press releases, what do you think they're doing? They're taking a bit of news and they're saying, okay, what's the best angle that we can look at this? When people do marketing, that's what they do. On one of the recent videos, I talked about how I think was it Dove or yeah, I think it was Dove. Anyway, one of these companies, and L'Oreal, sorry, it was L'Oreal, and L'Oreal, when they came out, they said they came out with the "Because You're Worth It" campaign, because they had the most expensive product. But then they said, instead of looking at it from, oh my God, it's so expensive, oh my God, you're worth spending that amount of money on yourself because you are worth it, right? They change the way that you look at things, and this is so powerful. Thanks, Aneta. I think I paid Aneta to say that. Like, I like that. I love that book. All right, cool. So looking at something from a different angle, so powerful. And we do it in everyday life. People do it to us, from PR companies, from marketing, from the news. If you look at the news from one country and news from a different country, they talk about the same news, but they talk about it from completely different angles. That is called reframing, or taking a frame and looking at how can you present it from the best angle for you, right? So, and then probably you've seen two friends arguing. Have you ever had two friends argue, and then one of them comes and talks to you, and they'll be like, "Oh my God, you should have seen this person did this," and you're like, "Wow, I can't believe they did that." And then you speak to the other person, and they go, "Oh man, this person did this," and it's like a completely different point of view. You got to understand there are multiple ways of looking at things. So, Laura Yee in the house, what's up? Say hey, what's going on? Thanks for tuning in. So, understanding different points of view are so powerful, and understanding how you can utilize points of view when you speak in order to influence and persuade is super powerful. All right, so let me go to camera 2. Right, so we're going to talk about two types of framing today. I'm going to talk about one thing called pre-framing and reframing. A lot of the examples that I've given you are a reframe. They take something that's already happened and try and change your opinion of it. Actually, job titles can be a pre-frame, but I'll tell you what a pre-frame is. So a pre-frame is telling people how to look at something before you present it to them. And I'll give you an example. When I do a training, sometimes I will say to people, some of what you're going to hear, you'll be like, you know what's the big deal? I know this already. Some of what you're going to hear, you'll be like, that's a bit weird, but yeah, okay, I can believe it. And some of what you're going to hear are going to be like way out there, and you're going to be like, Muneer sounds a little crazy. And those are the parts that I want you to get excited about, because it's the very ways of feeling, doing, behaving, and acting that lie outside of what you do already that hold the potential for juicy changes. So, what am I doing over there? When I say this before I begin any training, I'm telling people on like how to think when they go through the different phases, because either they're going to be like, oh yeah, I've kind of heard this, or they're going to be like, okay, cool. Or sometimes they might even say, that's a bit crazy, especially because I talk about the unconscious mind a lot. And so sometimes people question things. However, by me telling them, that it's probably going to happen, that you are probably going to question it, and that's when you should get excited, and that's when you should try, because it's that time that you are going to discover new things that you haven't done in order to get you new results that you haven't gotten. So I'm telling them how to behave when those doubt thoughts come up. And so that's super powerful, because so I'm providing a pre-frame. I'm telling them how to think about something before it happens, because I know that it's going to happen, right? So that's very, very, very powerful. All right, so yeah, true, very true. Thanks, Laura. So that's the pre-frame. A reframe is taking something that has already happened and finding a new meaning around it. So, like I told you, when I was doing my door to door, raining, what does it mean? What else could it mean, right? And this can be so powerful. And this is something that I personally do so much in my life every time something bad happens. Because yes, this applies to influence and persuasion, but I want to give you a very useful way to apply it in your life. Anytime something bad happens to you, always ask yourself the question, why is this a good thing? When you ask yourself that, your mind, as soon as you ask yourself a powerful question, your mind always has to come up with answers. And your mind will come up with some amazing answers that will really make you feel better. So this is not just for influence and persuasion of others. This is influence and persuade yourself to operate at your peak, to recover from some of the challenges that are in your life. One of the biggest breakthroughs that I see in people's lives is when someone very, very successful. I've seen this so many times because I've gone to multiple personal development events, right? And I'll see someone that's super successful and super driven, and they hate their parents because their parent neglected them when they were younger, and they've held on to this grudge. And then someone will say to them, "Okay, why is it a good thing? What has it done for you? The fact that they neglected you?" And they'll go, "Well, nothing." And they said, "No, if you really had to think of something." So I saw this at a Tony event, for example, a Tony Robbins event. I went there and someone stood up, very, very successful person. And, my parents neglected me, etc. And then Tony said, "So why is that a good thing?" And they go, "No, nothing." He said, "No, if you had to find one reason that made you a better person, what would it be?" And the person would say, "Well, it made me more driven. It made me I tried so much to impress them, that I became I took my work ethic to another level, because I became all about pleasing my parents. And because I became all about pleasing my parents, I developed this work ethic that helped me build this crazy business. And now I've impacted millions of lives around the world," or something, I don't know, something along those lines, right? You always ask yourself, what is the good thing in this? And I've done that at some of the most difficult times in my life. Hey, I got made redundant fairly recently. And I was like, okay, why is this a good thing? Well, this was my job was never my calling. This is my calling. I've wanted to impact people all around the world, etc. Now, and I've wanted to transition for a long time, etc. And so this is why this is very powerful. This is why this is important for me. And it will help you to transition out of bad. So reframing can simply, sometimes if you're doing it for yourself, for something that's happened to you, always asking yourself, why is this a good thing? What could be good about this? And there's always something. If you failed, then there's a learning experience at the very least. So, all right. So that's our session for today. Phrase of the day is set the frame, avoid the pain. Guys, I want to thank you very much for tuning in. I really appreciate you. Hope you enjoyed today. If you have any further questions or comments, even after the live video is over, please drop in a message and say hello. I truly appreciate you all. If you have not, please subscribe on YouTube. And actually, what you'll see is on YouTube, the edited versions of some of these videos, which are like way which take things to another level, are going to be on my YouTube channel. So thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you have a great day, and Eid Mubarak in advance. One love, peace out, and I will see you very, very soon.